Queen Elizabeth II, who reigned from 1952 to 2022, was the longest reigning monarch in British history, a figure whose reign spanned 7 decades of profound social, political, and cultural change. Her reign saw the transformation of the British Empire into the Commonwealth, the consolidation of the monarchy's role in a modern democratic society, and a unique relationship with her people and the wider world. Throughout her long reign, Elizabeth epitomized stability, continuity, and service, adapting to the changing times while maintaining the traditions of the British monarchy. Born Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Windsor on April 21, 1926, Elizabeth was the first child of the Duke and Duchess of York, later King George VI, and Queen Elizabeth, known as the Queen Mother. Elizabeth's early life was shaped by a sense of duty and a stable family environment, although her position as heir, presumptive to the throne, only became apparent after the abdication crisis of 1936. Elizabeth's father, King George, had initially been the younger brother of the king, but his unexpected ascension to the throne following the abdication of his elder brother, King Edward VIII, set in motion Elizabeth's future as queen. Her childhood was spent largely away from the public eye. She was educated at home by governesses and tutored in history, literature, and the arts. Her close relationship with her younger sister, Princess Margaret, provided a sense of normalcy and companionship during a time of immense national change. World War II, which began when Elizabeth was just 13 years old, profoundly influenced her upbringing. The royal family, including Elizabeth, was determined to remain in Britain during the war, and the young princess joined her parents in making public visits to bombed areas, offering moral support to the British public. Elizabeth's early years thus fostered a deep sense of responsibility and loyalty to her country. In 1947, at the age of 21, Elizabeth married Philip Mountbatten, Duke of Edinburgh, a former prince of Greece and Denmark. Their marriage became one of the most enduring royal partnerships in history. Together, they had 4 children: Charles, Anne, Andrew, and Edward. Philip's support was integral to Elizabeth's reign, and his role as consort was marked by his involvement in the public and charitable life of the monarchy. However, despite the support of her family, Elizabeth's life changed dramatically when her father passed away in 1952 and she ascended to the throne at the age of 25. On February 6, 1952, King George died unexpectedly, and Elizabeth became Queen Elizabeth II. Her coronation took place on June 2, 1953, in Westminster Abbey, in a ceremony that was broadcast live on television for the first time. This marked the beginning of her reign, which was characterized by a careful balancing act between tradition and modernization. Elizabeth's early reign coincided with a period of significant social change in Britain, including the end of the British Empire, the rise of the welfare state, and the increasing influence of television and popular culture. Queen Elizabeth's early reign was marked by a commitment to preserving the monarchy's traditional functions while embracing the new reality of a post-war Britain. She undertook a series of state visits abroad, including a tour of the Commonwealth, to strengthen diplomatic relations and showcase the monarchy's role in a changing world. She also adapted to the demands of a modern media environment. The 1953 coronation, broadcast live on television, was a symbol of this new relationship between the monarchy and the media. Elizabeth was the first British monarch to embrace the potential of television to communicate with her subjects, and this set the tone for her future engagement with the public. As a young queen, Elizabeth faced many challenges, both personal and public. The most significant challenge came in 1956, when her Prime Minister, Sir Anthony Eden, faced a crisis over the Suez Canal. The Suez Crisis, in which Britain, France, and Israel attempted to invade Egypt after Egypt nationalized the canal, was an embarrassing failure for the British government and a blow to Britain's imperial ambitions. The crisis marked the end of Britain's role as a global superpower, and Elizabeth's reign would witness the gradual dissolution of the British Empire. The Queen's ability to navigate this period with dignity and discretion demonstrated her remarkable understanding of the political and diplomatic landscape. One of the defining features of Queen Elizabeth's reign was her leadership during the decline of the British Empire and the subsequent formation of the Commonwealth of Nations. In the years following World War II, many of Britain's colonies gained independence, and the British Empire, which had once been the largest empire in history, began to dismantle. Elizabeth, as Queen of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth, navigated these changes with sensitivity and respect for the new nations emerging from colonial rule. The transition from empire to Commonwealth was not without challenges. In 1952, when Elizabeth became Queen, there were still vast territories under British rule, including India, Africa, and the Caribbean. However, the independence movements within these regions had gained significant momentum, and by the time of Elizabeth's coronation, India had already become an independent republic in 1947. Elizabeth's early years as Queen saw many more former colonies in Africa, the Caribbean, and Asia seek independence. Rather than resisting these changes, Elizabeth chose to embrace them, and she played a pivotal role in fostering the growth of the Commonwealth, an organization of former British colonies that sought to maintain political and economic ties while promoting shared values such as democracy, peace, and human rights. The Queen's state visits to newly independent nations helped to solidify the relationship between Britain and the Commonwealth, which was seen as a more inclusive and egalitarian model of international cooperation. One of the most significant moments in this regard was the 1965 declaration of the Commonwealth's transition from being a British imperial structure to a multiracial and multi-religious association of independent nations. Elizabeth worked tirelessly to maintain the unity of the Commonwealth and supported its evolution into an organization that valued diversity, tolerance, and mutual respect. The Queen's leadership within the Commonwealth not only shaped Britain's post-imperial role, but also helped to influence the modern international order. While Queen Elizabeth's public life was defined by her constitutional role and her duties as head of state, her private life was also significant. Over the years, Elizabeth and her family became the subject of intense media scrutiny, with the Queen often being portrayed as a reserved and stoic figure. However, her personal relationships played an important role in the development of her reign. Elizabeth's relationship with her husband, Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, was one of mutual support and respect. Philip was by her side through every major event of her reign, from royal tours to state occasions, and their partnership was often seen as one of the most successful royal marriages in history. Elizabeth's children, particularly Prince Charles, who would eventually become King Charles III, played a key role in the royal family's public image. But their personal lives also attracted considerable attention. Prince Charles's tumultuous marriage to Diana, Princess of Wales, and the subsequent media frenzy surrounding their divorce was one of the most challenging periods for the monarchy during Elizabeth's reign. The Queen's leadership was also tested by her ability to manage the increasingly complex relationships between her family members, particularly in the context of shifting attitudes towards monarchy in the modern world. Despite the controversies surrounding the royal family, Elizabeth managed to maintain the monarchy's reputation and ensure its continuity, while adapting to public opinion and the demands of modernity. Throughout her reign, Queen Elizabeth II was committed to the modernization of the monarchy, ensuring that it remained relevant in a rapidly changing world. In the early years of her reign, the monarchy's public role was largely formal and traditional. However, the advent of television, mass media, and later the Internet changed the way the monarchy interacted with the public. The Queen carefully adapted to these changes, understanding that the monarchy must evolve in response to the times. One of the most notable changes in the monarchy's relationship with the public occurred during the 1990s, when Elizabeth and her family faced significant challenges to their image. The breakdown of the marriage between Prince Charles and Diana, Princess of Wales, and the public's reaction to the royal family's behavior created a media storm. The Queen initially remained detached from the public, but in the aftermath of Diana's tragic death in 1997, Elizabeth and her family were forced to reconsider their approach to public relations. The Queen's decision to allow her personal life to be more open to the public and her efforts to modernize the monarchy's image helped ensure its survival in the 21st century. The monarch's involvement in public charity work, her public addresses, and her willingness to engage in new forms of media allowed her to remain a relevant figurehead in an era of rapid societal change. Queen Elizabeth's reign ended with her death on September 8, 2022, at the age of 96. Her passing marked the end of an era for Britain and the Commonwealth. As the longest reigning monarch in British history, Elizabeth's legacy is one of service, stability, and adaptability. Her reign spanned a period of dramatic change, from the dissolution of the British Empire to the rise of the European Union and the Commonwealth of Nations, and she remained a steadfast symbol of continuity in a world that was constantly evolving. Elizabeth's commitment to her duties, her careful approach to modernization, and her role in fostering unity within the Commonwealth ensured that her reign left an indelible mark on the history of the British monarchy. The Queen's adaptability in the face of changing times and her unwavering dedication to her people have made her one of the most significant and respected monarchs in world history. In the years following her death, the monarchy's future will inevitably be shaped by her legacy. King Charles III, her son and successor, faces the challenge of maintaining the monarchy's relevance in a new era while honoring the legacy of the Queen, whose service and leadership have defined British monarchy for 7 decades. Elizabeth's legacy will continue to inspire future generations, reminding the world of the power of duty, service, and the enduring strength of the British monarchy.